So look, I want to be very clear. You have misused resources appropriated by Congress. You've engaged in unethical behavior. You have repeatedly made false and misleading statements to Congress and to the press, and you've undermined the separation of powers and disregarded the role of Congress and the courts. Bottom line, you lie with impunity. You reject checks and balances, and you ignore Congress and the courts. Your options are limited. Either you're going to resign, Trump's going to fire you, or you will be impeached. I've already called for your resignation. You may remember I hand-delivered my request to you back in May, and I urge you to reconsider resignation because I've taken the first step towards your impeachment, and I've called on the Judiciary Committee to open an investigation into your lawlessness. Mr. Chairman, I know that at the end we'll be entering a number of articles into consent, but since I have a few moments, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter calling the Judiciary Committee to investigate Secretary Noem's impeachable offenses. Whatever you choose, the American people will have justice. Secretary.
Hey everyone, we've got some absolute fireworks here. Congresswoman Ramirez is going absolutely nuclear on DHS Secretary Kristi Noem in this heated congressional hearing. Ramirez is accusing Noem of lying under oath, violating court orders, and she's literally calling for impeachment. Now, before we dive in, I want you to pay attention to what's really happening here. This is political theater at its finest, and Ramirez is playing to the cameras hard. Let's break down this confrontation, and I'll give you a take on what's really going on.
Yields back. I now recognize the gentlelady from Illinois, Ms. Ramirez, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Chairman.
American citizens have been arrested or detained. We focus on those that are here.
Right there, that's the lie. Noem says we focus on those that are here illegally, but Ramirez is about to destroy that claim with actual evidence. This is the problem with this administration. They say one thing to sound reasonable, but on the reality, the ground is they're completely different. They're sweeping up American citizens, legal residents, people with no criminal records, and when they get caught, they just smile and deny it. It's gaslighting on a massive scale. And notice Noem's tone here. She's so casual about it, like detaining American citizens is just a minor oopsie. This isn't a bug in the system, folks. This is a feature. They want chaos and fear in immigrant communities, and they don't care who gets caught in the crossfire.
Illegally.
Secretary Noem, you lie and you lied to the American people. I will be including into the record an article by ProPublica from October 16, 2025, entitled, "We found that more than 170 U.S. citizens have been held by immigration agents. They've been
70 American citizens. Let that sink in. These aren't just statistics. These are real people with constitutional rights who were kicked, dragged, and detained for days. And Noem just lied about it under oath. ProPublica did the investigative work that this administration hoped nobody would do, and they found over 70 cases. And that's just what they could document. How many more are there that we don't know about? When the government starts detaining its own citizens without cause, that's not immigration enforcement. That's authoritarianism. And the worst part, Noem is smiling. She thinks this is funny. She thinks violating Americans' constitutional rights is something to smirk about. The arrogance is breathtaking.
kicked. There's nothing smiling about U.S. citizens. I'm sorry, that's very inappropriate. Let me continue. They've been kicked, dragged, and detained for days. The next one.
The Trump administration has specifically targeted the worst of the worst. The individuals that we are going after are those that are violent criminals, those that are breaking our laws.
Secretary Noem, again, you lied to the American people. I will be including into the record an article by the NBC News from December 7, 2025, entitled, "ICE has arrested nearly 75,000 people with no criminal record."
75,000 people with no criminal records. But wait, I thought they were only going after the worst of the worst. That's what they told us, right? Violent criminals, gang members, threats to public safety. Turns out that this was a complete lie. They're arresting people who've been here for decades, people who've never committed a crime, people who are contributing members of the communities. This is exactly what critics warned would happen. Mass deportation operations don't distinguish between the good and the bad, because that was never the point. The cruelty is the point. The chaos is the point. Breaking up families and terrorizing communities is the point. And when confronted with the evidence, Noem doesn't apologize. She doubles down.
Records, data shows. A co-equal branch of government, and it is your obligation as a member of the executive branch to honor decisions made by the highest court of the land. Yes or no, Secretary?
We are
Yes.
abiding by all federal judges' orders, absolutely.
The Justice Department said that when the administration was ordered back in March to stop sending detained migrants to a mega prison in El Salvador, you personally made the final call to continue the flights anyway. Is that correct?
And the decisions that are made on deportations, where flights go and when they go, are my decision at the Department of Homeland Security. And we'll continue to do the right thing, continue to work and do protect Americans, no matter what radical judge comes out and tries to stop it.
Excuse me? Radical judge? This is a Secretary of Homeland Security openly saying she'll ignore federal court orders. Let me spell this out. When a federal judge issues an order, you don't get to decide whether you like that judge or not. You follow the law. This is basic separation of powers, checks, and balances, the foundation of our constitutional system. But Noem just admitted on the record that she'll ignore judicial oversight if she disagrees with it. That's not law and order. That's lawlessness. This is the same administration that claims to be all about law and order. But the second a court tells them they can't do something, suddenly judges are radical activists. The hypocrisy is stunning. They want law and order for everyone else, but not for themselves.
We'll do.
You lied on the record, and you lied to members of this committee. You violated court orders by not turning around deportation flights bound for El Salvador, where we know that hundreds of people under your leadership have reported that they were raped, they were beaten, and they nearly died.
Hundreds of people raped and beaten in detention facilities under Noem's watch. And her response? Nothing. No accountability, no investigation, no concern whatsoever. These are human beings we're talking about. People who are in government custody, under government protection, and they're being brutalized. This El Salvador mega prison situation is absolutely dystopian. We're sending people to foreign detention facilities where they're being tortured, and when a federal judge says stop, Noem personally makes the call to keep the flights going anyway. This isn't about border security or public safety. This is about cruelty as policy. And the fact that she shows no remorse, no concern for these victims, tells you everything you need to know about her character.
And your agents used chemical weapons in Chicago despite court orders from District Court Judge Ellis forbidding their use. Secretary Noem, you, Gregory Bovino, and your ICBP and DHS deputized agents have waged an unaccountable, unlawful, unconstitutional war against communities across the nation. Our residents have been surveilled, they've been threatened, they've been tear gassed, they've been hit with pepper balls, they've been shot, they've been subjected to warrantless arrest and precision immobilization maneuvers, they've been kidnapped and disappeared under your leadership.
Kidnapped and disappeared. And before anyone says that's hyperbole, let's be clear about what's happening. When federal agents show up without warrants, detain people without due process, and ship them to undisclosed locations without proper documentation, what else would you call it? Families are searching for loved ones who vanished after ICE raids. People are being held in facilities without access to lawyers or the ability to even contact family members. This is exactly the kind of thing we condemn when it happens in authoritarian regimes. But when it happens here, we're supposed to just accept it as immigration enforcement? These are the tactics of police states, not democracies. And Noem is running this operation with zero transparency and zero accountability.
So we have a lot to talk about, but you and your department continue to reject congressional oversight. And you know how I know this? I know this because I've requested a meeting with ICE Field Office Director Russell Hutt. I requested a meeting with Field Office Director Samuel Olson. And when you came to Chicago on October 3rd, I publicly and formally requested a meeting with you. So I'm going to be including a letter I sent on October 3rd requesting a meeting with Secretary Noem. So, Secretary Noem, I want to ask you again, will you commit to meet with me, yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a lot to talk about, and actually my scheduler has a couple.
Notice how Noem only agrees to meet after publicly being called out in a congressional hearing. Ramirez had been requesting meetings since October. That's months of being ignored. The only reason Noem is agreeing now is because she's on camera and can't dodge anymore without looking even worse. This is the problem with this administration's approach to congregational oversight. They stonewall, they refuse to cooperate, they treat Congress like a inconvenience rather than a co-equal branch of government. Ramirez shouldn't have to publicly shame a cabinet secretary just to get a meeting. This should be standard operating procedure. But this administration doesn't believe in oversight, doesn't believe in accountability, and only responds when they're backed into a corner.
Dates that I'll get to you after this meeting. I appreciate that. So look, I want to be very clear. You have misused resources appropriated by Congress. You've engaged in unethical behavior. You have repeatedly made false and misleading statements to Congress and to the press, and you've undermined the separation of powers and disregarded the role of Congress and the courts. Bottom line, you lie with impunity, you reject checks and balances, and you ignore Congress and the courts. Your options are limited. Either you're going to resign, Trump's going to fire you, or you will be impeached.
And you know what? Ramirez is absolutely right. When you lie under oath, when you violate court orders, when you ignore congregational oversight, there has to be consequences. Impeachment isn't partisan theatrics when someone is actually breaking the law. It's constitutional accountability. Noem has admitted on record that she ignores federal judges. She's been caught lying about detaining citizens. She's running detention facilities where people are being abused. At what point do we say enough is enough? The rule of law has to mean something. And if cabinet secretaries can just do whatever they want with no consequences, then we don't have a democracy anymore. Ramirez is doing her job. She's exercising congressional oversight. She's demanding accountability. And she's making it clear what actions have consequences. What do you think? Is impeachment warranted here? Or should Noem get away with ignoring courts and lying to Congress? Drop your thoughts below and subscribe for more accountability coverage just like this.